much for coming to the People's Flotilla's very first action against austerity and the evictions that are being imposed by the Canal and River Trust on the vulnerable, disabled and the elderly.
One of the reasons why I'm pleased to be here is because what is happening to the canal system in this country is happening to every institution that matters to ordinary people in this country.
Where if you actually don't have anywhere else to go, you can be evicted, but you can have as many homes as the National Trust, not pay a penny in tax, and be given a place in the cabinet. That's the sort of thing that this government thinks is a good idea.
Okay, I am Andy, Secretary of Milton Keynes Against Cuts. We're a local campaigning group against austerity.
The National Bargee Travellers Association campaigns and provides advice for boat dwellers without permanent moorings on Britain's waterways. Navigation authorities do not always uphold our right under the European Convention to respect for our homes. Every year, boat dwellers are evicted and their boats seized. Many of these people are disabled, elderly or ill. The petition was started in response to the brutal eviction of a mentally ill woman from her boat. So far, over 5,500 people have signed this petition. Canal and River Trust has claimed that it is complying with the Equality Act. However, it has evicted or threatened with eviction a number of sick, elderly and disabled boaters. There are some terrible examples.
I have a friend who is suffering with cancer. She's had a major operation on her lungs, and myself and my friend went down to CRT offices and asked them if it was possible for my friend to overstay the 14 days. And they said, yes, of course it is. It'll only be £200 odd a month. This is a woman who's on a £400 pension.
When British Waterways was made in to the Canal and River Trust, when it was made a charitable status, the government removed 1/3 of the funding that had previously been going to that body. And to make up the money, they told the new charity that what it should do is to start selling off the property portfolio of the British Waterways organisation.
Why are British Waterways, because it's still British Waterways, it's still run by the same people, spending more money off the canal than they are on the canal? 120 million last year was spent on a building complex in Manchester that was nowhere near the canal. Why didn't they spend 120 million on the canal? It's collapsing everywhere.
Deals done on golf courses, right?
Yes. Backhanders.
Yep.
Why don't they spend money on the system that they own and make it better for us to live on?
So what is happening here is that huge cuts to the maintenance of the canal and waterway system is being replaced by a property sell-off of assets that working people in this country laboured long and hard to create and have used their taxes to maintain throughout the whole period since the Second World War. And we should remember, it was directly after the war that it was actions like this. And if you want to read about it, you can read about it in Tom Holt's book, Narrowboat. It was actions like this that saved the canal system from being destroyed in this country. And we aren't going to let this government do what the government after the war couldn't get away with doing. We're not going to allow them to privatise it. We're not going to allow them to sell it off. Wherever you look, it's the same story. What they're doing to the canals is what they're doing to the NHS. What they're doing to the NHS and the canals is what they're doing to the education system. And every time it's the same story. They know that these institutions are loved and revered and needed by millions of working people. So they don't come to us and just say, oh, forget about it, we're just going to sell it off, because the privatisations have had such a disastrous record in the railways and other places. We're turning it into a charity, and that will mean that more people can volunteer. What volunteering means is this. It means you take people's enthusiasm, you take their love for an institution, and you make them do the work that it should be paid for people to have jobs to do. That's what you're doing. I don't want to stop people volunteering, but I do want people in a country where 0.2 million people unemployed to have jobs, and I want them to be paid decent wages, and these people at the top of the Canal and River Trust are paying themselves absolutely enormous salaries to sell off their institutions in this country. I'll tell you why they do it. They look at the private corporations, they look at the heads of McAlpine and BP and McDonald's, and they say, why shouldn't we be paid the same as you? Why shouldn't we get the same money? I'll tell you why you shouldn't get the same money. Because this is a public institution. It was saved by the taxpayer, it's been paid for by the taxpayer. It's a public utility, and it's there for the use of the public. It's not there for you to fill your pockets with. So let's have some sense talked here. This is something that working people laboured long and hard to create. It's something they love. It's something they need, and it should be preserved as a public utility. So good luck to you today. We're right behind every protest you hold, but come and join with others. With the people who are trying to save the NHS, with the people who are trying to save the educational system on the 21st of June in London on what is going to be an absolutely huge demonstration. We've just learnt this week that we forced the MPs of Westminster Council to agree that we're going to have a huge sound stage on Parliament Square, feet from the entrance to the House of Commons, because we want to take this message right to the doorstep of the people who are making these decisions. Thank you very much for listening, and good luck.
I will be pleased to go marching on the 21st of June because actually there is this myth that the traditional parties have been perpetuating, which is that people want austerity. We need to trim our budget to pay off our deficit. And then you've got someone like Philip Green being given a place as special advisor when actually if people like him paid the income tax that they owed, we could pay off the deficit in a year and a half. When the Tory party's major donor lives in Belize and doesn't pay a penny on his billions of tax, I think it is extremely twisted. It is topsy-turvy to be talking about people who live on a boat or people who might have about 5 foot too much in their house because of the bedroom tax being the real scroungers.
We must make ourselves educators and organisers and fighters on the streets, in our workplaces, and of course on the canals. Demand nothing less than collective and democratic ownership over the riches of this earth. This is what we are. This is what we are coming for, and this is what we will get. Thank you.
We're going to deliver this petition to the Canal and River Trust today at 5 o'clock.
Are CNRT going to be brave enough to collect the paperwork, or are they going to have to put it through the letterbox?
No eviction! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? No eviction! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? No eviction! When do we want it?